Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where we don't play with dolls, this is Ballot.
That's right, and the only thing that wastes more money than the federal government is Mets owner Steve Cohen. Let's hit this. The White House has issued what might be the most unusual official denial in political history, insisting that Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller does not, in fact, play with dolls. This clarification came after a Rolling Stone profile revealed that Republican staffers on Capitol Hill used to whisper that Miller liked to play with porcelain dolls during his time working for then-Senator Jeff Sessions. Which raises the immediate question, how exactly does one get a reputation for doll collecting in Washington politics? A White House official called the characterization inaccurate and baseless gossip, which is the kind of statement you never expect to see in an official government press release. Somewhere in the White House communications office, someone had to sit down and craft a formal response about their colleagues' alleged hobby preferences. The doll rumors apparently date back to Miller's Capitol Hill days, when conservative staffers viewed him as little more than a punchline or an obscure cautionary tale of what happens when you read too many far-right hate websites. Those same staffers probably never imagined they'd one day need the White House to officially deny their porcelain doll gossip. Miller, now 40 years old, continues to be the target of nicknames among Trump world insiders, including Shadow Sec Def, Prime Minister Miller, the real Attorney General, and President Miller. So apparently when you're not being accused of playing with dolls, you're being accused of running the entire government. Even President Trump himself has reportedly insulted Miller behind his back, with biographer Michael Wolff claiming Trump calls him Weird Steven, which means Miller has achieved the rare distinction of being both defended and mocked by his own boss simultaneously. Rolling Stone noted that Miller inspires a unique mix of admiration and unease among MAGA Republicans, with one longtime Trump advisor describing him as one intense, well, let's just say a very intense person. Attempts by Miller's friends to make him sound gentler, kinder, or funnier often fall flat, which suggests his public relations team faces some unique challenges. We've now reached the point where the White House communications team has to issue formal denials about staff members' alleged toy preferences. And somehow, in the grand scheme of Washington politics, this doesn't even crack the top 10 strangest things that have happened this week. The New York Mets just completed what might be the most expensive faceplant in baseball history. $340 million in payroll, Juan Soto's record-breaking contract, and a team that made it to the National League Championship Series last year, and they couldn't even limp into the expanded playoffs? That's not a collapse. That's a demolition derby where you paid extra to watch your own car get crushed. 2 months into the season, the Mets were the best team in baseball. By the end, they were the punchline. One veteran player summed it up perfectly. On paper, we are a much better team this year than we were last year, and I don't think it's necessarily close. Just didn't work. Which is like saying the Titanic was a much better ship than a rowboat. Technically true, but you still end up at the bottom of the ocean. The clubhouse vibe went from immaculate in 2024 to whatever the opposite of immaculate is. Mediocre, tepid, a dentist's waiting room. Players kept insisting everything was fine, which is what you say when everything is definitely not fine. Brandon Nimmo actually said, "We didn't have OMG or a pop superstar on our team. We don't need to try to make that happen." My man, you have Juan Soto. If he's not a pop superstar, what is he, a traveling salesman? The chemistry issue was delicate. You've got Francisco Lindor, who basically told the fans to go to hell his first year, and then you bring in Juan Soto, who's all business. Two different leadership styles, neither one wrong, but together they're like oil and water, or more accurately, $340 million in disappointment. Club sources kept saying they'll grow more comfortable with one another over time, which means they spent this entire season, and in the final assessment from the article says it all. Last year was magic. This year was just an illusion. And that illusion cost Steve Cohen $340 million. At least when you go to a magic show and realize it's all tricks, you only paid $50 for the ticket. President Trump announced that he wants to release the files, finally. That's right, the president wants to unseal all classified files on Amelia Earhart's disappearance, which happened nearly 90 years ago. At this point, Trump has promised to declassify more government secrets than a WikiLeaks convention, except, of course, the Epstein Files. The president posted on Truth Social that he's been asked often about Earhart's life and times, which raises the question, who exactly is asking the president about aviation mysteries from 1937? Are people just walking up to him at Mar-a-Lago saying, hey, what's your take on that whole Earhart situation? Or maybe he can't hear when everyone is asking him about the Epstein Files. Trump wrote that Earhart made it almost 3/4 around the world before she suddenly, and without notice, vanished, never to be seen again. Which sounds like he's describing someone who ghosted him after a dinner party. She was doing so well, flying around the world, having a great time, and then nothing, not even a text back. Now, most historians believe Earhart simply ran out of fuel and crashed into the Pacific Ocean. But apparently, there are classified government files about this, which suggests either there's more to the story or the federal government has been keeping really detailed records about everything since the 1930s. The executive director of the Amelia Earhart Hangar Museum said she was surprised by Trump's announcement, which is diplomatic museum speak for, we had no idea this was coming. She did note that the original search for Earhart cost more than $4 million, making it the most expensive federal search in history at the time. Adjusted for inflation, that's like spending $50 million today to look for someone who ran out of gas. This latest declassification promise joins Trump's previous orders to release files on JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King Jr. At this rate, he's going to declassify everything from the Roswell incident to the recipe for McDonald's special sauce. The White House hasn't said how many Earhart records are actually classified or where they're located, which means we could be looking at someone's grocery list from 1938. But here's what we know. Somewhere in a government filing cabinet, there are apparently classified documents about a woman who disappeared over the Pacific Ocean 9 decades ago. And the President of the United States thinks the American people deserve to know what really happened to her and navigator Fred Noonan. Either we're about to solve one of history's greatest mysteries, or we're going to learn that the government has been classifying everything, including lost luggage reports from the Roosevelt administration. Well, everything except the Epstein Files. Portions of today's show were made with the help of AI.
You can call me James. I spent 23 years designing aircraft that officially don't exist for agencies you think TV made up. Until I started asking the wrong questions. Navy ships are recording objects moving at impossible speeds. Infrastructure is failing in coordinated patterns. The moon looks smaller than it did 10 years ago. None of this is a coincidence. The official explanations don't add up. This is Paranormal Aliens, where we connect the dots they don't want connected. If you're hearing this, you know where to get podcasts. Follow Paranormal Aliens. New episodes weekly until they shut me down.
Want to hear your favorite shows without any ads? It's easy. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, just tap the banner that says Uninterrupted Listening and unlock commercial-free versions of this show and all your other Calaroga favorites for just $4.99 a month. Even better, you get a 30-day free trial to start. That includes Palace Intrigue, your daily dose of royal family drama, 5 good news stories where we spotlight feel-good headlines, 5 daily trivia questions to test your brain, daily comedy news, bringing you the latest in comedy, celebrity trials for the biggest courtroom showdowns, and Taylor Swift Today for all things Taylor. Plus, coming September 14th, binge Season 2 of the hit series Crown and Controversy. This season, we explore how everything changed the moment Meghan met Harry, and the ripple effects that shook the royal family to its core. The power struggles, the family fractures, and the love story that rewrote the royal rulebook. All episodes drop that Sunday exclusively for subscribers. Go ad-free, binge more, and never miss a beat. Tap Uninterrupted Listening now.